Hey fans, don't miss the action as your Pride on Ice Gopher men's hockey team opens the season against the reigning champions of the National Collegiate Hockey Association. The Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs will be on Sunday, October 7th here at 7 o'clock. Visit the ticket sales table at section 24 on the concourse to purchase your tickets today. And Wally, I know one guy who's going to be looking forward to that first weekend. That's brand new coach Bob Motzko. Welcome back to the campus, Coach.
Well, it's great to be back. You know, it's getting acclimated with the gang. Now we've been out for about 7 practices. Starting to figure out their first name now. I had it all down, and then they put their helmets on, and it messed me up. So, but we're getting there, getting to know each other, and we've made good progress so far.
That M, that looks really good on you.
I hope so. No, it's been a whirlwind summer. There's no question. That exciting for our family. Move back to the Twin Cities. I mean, and I came from a great place, and I'm coming to a great place. So I'm pretty fortunate that I get to spend a lot of time in the state of Minnesota and hopefully end my career here.
I remember your opening press conference here, and this is actually the third go-around you've had with the Minnesota Gophers. The first time as a player trying out for the squad and unfortunately getting cut, I think once or twice. Twice. And then the assistant coach with the Golden Gophers from 2001 through 05, 4 years there, part of 2 national championships. So you're certainly no stranger to the campus and the Twin City area here, but it's great to have you back. I reiterate what Frank said, and I'm really looking forward to having you guiding the program to its next step.
Well, awesome, and I did say in that press conference, my third and final stop here, and because I can't think there would be another possible way to ever come back, and plus my age. So, but there's no question that I feel so fortunate when I was here the first time when Don had me in on his staff, and there were 4 pretty magical years that we spent together, and that afforded me the opportunity to get my first head job at St. Cloud State, and to be back in a state where I grew up and played high school hockey and then ended up playing college hockey, and obviously I followed the Gophers my entire life, and I'm also sitting in the same seat Herb Brooks sat in, both seats. He was here, and that's where I got my chance in coaching when he was at St. Cloud, and I'm following some pretty good footsteps, and I know that, and I'm very honored to be the coach and be in charge right now of this elite program.
You had some phenomenal success up in St. Cloud. You were there for 13 years, 8 times in the 13. You made the NCAAs, including 5 of the last 6 years. I would have to think it was a really difficult decision to leave what you had really built up there and come down to the Twin Cities to be part of this program again.
Well, as you know, we'll just go brief in it. As we were getting deep into the 13 years into my career there, we really got the program going, and we did the big renovation of the building, and things were good. And I kind of had passed anything in my brain, like that's it. I'm gonna be here. But yet deep down, I always thought I had one more move. And you wonder if it's going to come, and the phone has to ring your way, and at that point, and 13 years, I'll say at one spot, I didn't overstay my welcome, and that's what I think was that we did accomplish the things we wanted to accomplish there. I'm so proud of the people that were a part of that program to help build it, but I had a move left, and if I did have a wish list where it might be, it would be right here at the University of Minnesota. And that was definitely, I can't say it was a bucket list, but it was the one place that I would come to. And it just, the cards played out, the stars were aligned for this to happen. And it happened fast. If you go back to last March, I mean, it was like getting traded. That's what I talk about. Yeah. There was no planning. It was one day I was here, and the next day I was packing my bags, and I was the coach here. And now the last 5 months, I've really started to settle in to get the lay of the land at the task, the job in front of us. And, there's been such great tradition in this program, and I'm well aware of it. but we have to find a way to embrace that tradition, and yet take it to a level again where it's been before, to bring it back to that level. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge in coaching. But at a program like this, there are no limits to what we could do here. So we're excited.
Bob, I'm sure you paid attention to this program even in your years at St. Cloud State. You pay attention to a lot of different college programs, but in particular the Gophers. And now you've had, because of NCAA rules, you've only had a limited amount of ice time with these guys. But what have you learned overall about this squad, and maybe what pleasant surprises do you have early on?
Well, first, when we got started, and I was talking to the guys today, is we have talent. Now being on the ice, we got good size. We can skate. The kids work. They come to the rink. They got a great demeanor about them, and I really think that it's real. That they're not just trying to put on a face right now with the new coach. That there's a pulse inside this group. And then I'll even back it up one step. On paper, knowing what we have from the past is we've got goaltending. And a new coach, that's the first question you're going to ask is can we stop the puck? Because that gives you a chance right out of the gate. And because goaltending can make coaches look good in a hurry. Yeah. And, you've got, Eric Shearhorn, who's played over 100 games and was two-time All Big Ten goaltender, and Matt Robson sure came on last year, and Eric Couts back there. We're deep in goaltending with experience and quality, and that gives you a chance, and it gives confidence to the rest of the group. And then, then you start with just a couple of guys that everybody's sure going to know about, but Tyler Sheehy, who had 50 points a sophomore year and was an All-American and battled injuries last year, and that was the reason for the little setback. And that's the thing, we as coaches can't talk to the media about our injuries. Well, he's past all that. He's looked great on the ice. And there's a slew of other guys that have a history of offense. Rem Pitlick, now coming into his upper class years, seems really poised to take that leadership role from an offensive standpoint. So
he's a pretty good shooter too, isn't he?
Well, the whole team is, and that's one of the things that you're taking over as a program with a very high GPA and who have done outstanding. And we have a large senior class, and we'll add that. This class is all set to graduate really almost by winter. They're almost done. They might have just one or two classes to take after that. So they've been high academic achievers, and they've got unfinished business, and there's been a feel of that right now. So we can score goals, really like the goaltending, and now we got to put all the pieces together.
Well, it is nice you talk about the upper class, but there's 9 seniors on this team, 6 forwards, 1 defenseman, 2 goalies, an additional 5 juniors as well. And we've often talked with a variety of coaches over the course of seasons that it's really important to have as many seniors as you can possibly retain over the 4 years, isn't it?
Well, every time you look at national champions, and I mean, Duluth last year might be the exception when they got on the roll at the end. It's your seniors are leading the way, and your upper class guys who have paid their dues have worked extremely hard in the weight room. And when your upperclassmen are your best kids and your best players, you're going to do something special. And there's a pulse with this older group, and they're excited for this season. I can feel it. We can sense it right now with that group. So it's a great group to rally around.
One thing from last year, at the end of the year, like the top 15 teams in the pairwise or the RPI, they were all Western schools. They were either from the Big Ten or from the NCHC. So what will the transition be like for you going from one conference to the other?
Well, the quickest challenge we're going to have, or the biggest challenge, is the fact that we are going to be playing teams I'm not familiar with. And when you're in a league and a conference for a long time, you get very familiar with your opponent. The systems rarely change. It's just the players change. The good thing is we start out with Duluth and North Dakota, three of our first games. So
those teams. So those will all be wins. Right?
I don't have to watch a lot of film against that group, I can tell you. But the big challenge is getting to know the teams that I don't know a lot about. And that's going to be a fun challenge to get to know Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. But to go back to your question, right now the power really is in those two conferences. The NCHC, arguably for the last 5 years, has been the strongest conference But very quietly last year, the Big Ten, 3 teams in the Frozen Four, set its mark. Finally, I think last year the Big Ten put their footprint down and said, hey, not so fast, everybody, we're here. And I think you're going to continue to see that this is going to be a power conference in hockey.
Wait till you go to Penn State. They have a whole new way of counting over there. It's 1 for you, 1, 2 for us.
That's
2
also
for you, 3, 4 for us.
That's also any program Dean Blaze has ever been on too. So, we're all used to that. Wherever he's coaching North Dakota or Omaha, by the end of the first period, there were 20 shots on the board, whether you got them or not.
What kind of a learning curve is it for you? Not only, as you said, going from one conference to another, but really going from one program to the other and having to learn all these new players.
That's actually I think an easy part. I think they might say it's a little harder because they're getting to know a new staff. But from a hockey player to hockey player, year to year, in a lot of our programs, it's just they're good kids that come from good backgrounds that want to play the game the right way. They want an education. It's, a lot of times for a coach that's been around, it's deja vu. And here's another great kid coming up through the program, and I'm getting a strong sense of that right here. The big challenge, for me is I led kind of a quiet life up 75 miles north of here, and you're not all quiet down here.
Yeah, a little more media, isn't there?
There's a little bit more, attention, and as you all know, I got a face for radio. And
you're in the right spot. Yeah. You're in the absolute right spot. You couldn't have picked 2 better guys to be with.
So,
when you take a look at this squad right now, what are your early impressions from what you've seen on the first few days of practice?
Well, the skill level, early in our drills really jumped out at us. That there's a solid skill base there. And good size, so and good speed, and that's if you've known my programs in the past, we want to be speed based and get on people, and that's the part that we've got to figure out yet is where's our compete level going to be. That's the great thing about our sport. I mean, yes, it's speed and your skills and players that can bring you to the edge of your seat. But our sport is meant to be played with fierce tenacity and relentless pursuit of the puck. And it's too early right now. They've got a good pulse, but that's what we got to figure out with this group is consistently throughout the depth of our lineup, are we going to get after it? And are we going to be a pain in the rear end to play against? And that's what we want to install right now. We want it not to be very fun to play against us. And that doesn't mean being dirty or doesn't mean being, a big, heavy physical presence. That means we are just relentless at chasing that puck down and playing on the offensive side and making the other team, force the other team to make mistakes. That's what we want to recruit here. That's what we want to play. And I think there's a base of players this year that can play that way.
You have brought along an assistant coach in Garrett Raboyne, a guy who played 4 years at St. Cloud State. And he was with you the past 6 years as an assistant coach up at St. Cloud. Tell us a little bit about Garrett.
Well, it was interesting. We just had that top prospects game over at the XL the other night, and they were interviewing. Mike Hastings was there, and Scott Sandlin, and Brett Larson, the new St. Cloud coach, myself, and the whole subject started to come up. And I'm leading to your question. Trust me. That the 5 guys that are coaching, the head coaches now, we're all from outside the metro area. We're all from relatively smaller towns, and what's the characteristic of that? So maybe we're not that smart. I'm not quite sure, but we're very close as a group. Garrett Raboyne is from Detroit Lakes. His dad's from the International Falls. His mom and dad both are, and he was a coach. When I coached him, he's one of the few players that I've ever coached that I'm going to hire this guy, and 2-time captain. And then when I did 6 years ago, he's a natural, and people are going to learn that here. He's big time, and he made a great relationship with the players. high energy in what he brings every day with the communicate. And what I like too is he was a younger guy that really could, I'm getting to be just a tad bit on the older side, and to have that young guy on your staff communicate with the players, I thought was just remarkable that he brought. And when he chose not to go after the head coaching job at St. Cloud because he just said, I'm having too much fun in this business right now, and I got more to learn before I take over a program, and he's a head coach in the making. And at that point, I said, well, young man, if you're not taking that job, I want you to come with me, because it is so important for those 27 guys that we've got on our team that we can deliver the people around them, that when they graduate, that literally, as corny as it might sound, that you become part of their life forever, and there's even some tears, and trust me, a lot of times there's not a lot of tears with the head coach. We got to play the heavy, but those assistants got to do a remarkable job with relationships and making our players better, and I really think that this kid Garrett Raboyne is one of the best.
I think we have time for another one. Can I take you back to the ice? Yeah. Everybody always wants to know about the freshman class, and again, you haven't seen much of them, but what have you seen from the freshman class, and how much do you think we will see, and do you need them to contribute this season?
We need them to contribute this season, and that's a big thing that's happened all through college hockey. When we have 18 scholarships, and you play 20 players, you have 25, 26 on your roster. You need your freshmen to make an impact in your lineup, and this group is showing that right now. And you also love that spirit they bring. The hats tilted a little sideways. They're unfazed right now. They've never made a mistake, and they don't care. They think they're gonna be great. You want that. You want that enthusiasm, and this group, because it's a large group, is bringing that enthusiasm to our team right now. I think there's some tremendous players in that group. And I think they're going to be a tremendous impact in this hockey team this year.
Bob, thanks very much for your time. We certainly look forward to a very prosperous winter coming up here on the rinks of 3M Arena at Mariucci.
But I will say, though, we were all together 14 and 15 years ago. I have changed the most. You two are exactly the same. And
Exactly.
You're just saying that because you shaved off your gray hairs, and we haven't.
I had hair when I was here. There's a picture somewhere to show it. And here's a fun. Did you see Jordan Leopold was a guest coach last week in that prospects game, and they did an interview with him on the jumbotron, and it was on TV. And it was they said, well, what'd you do to prepare? He goes, I prepared hard to be a coach. I gained 20 pounds and lost my hair. That's
Bob,
Jordan.
Gay, thank you.
All right, gang, thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
And we remind